Hello everyone, and welcome to Writing Explicit Joins. The objective of this video is to understand the different types of joins that we can write explicitly, get in and show you examples on how to join two tables together explicitly, and finally give you an example of how to write multiple tables or join multiple tables together explicitly. All right, so let's get started. When it comes to explicit joins, there's an inner join and there's an outer join. And with that, there's four different types of joins that you can actually do. For the most part, probably 95 to 99% of the joins you'll write for any particular application that you may write will always be an inner join. But every once in a while, you'll need that outer join. For this particular video, we're going to show you how to write an inner join. Later on in the semester, we'll come back to outer joins and allow you to practice those. But right now, it's interesting to understand the differences between all these joins. All right. Obviously, an inner join is basically bringing back records that match. And when we say match, the primary key and the foreign key matching on the on clause. Based upon that, only the records that match come back to our results set. A left join, outer join, right outer join, and full outer join brings back entire tables, all the rows in the table based upon which kind of outer join you actually write. Let me give you an example based upon an illustration. So in this case here, we sit back and look at our inner join. Once again, we have a left table and a right table. What do we mean by that? Well, basically left and right is which table we write in our from clause first versus the table we write second. The first one is considered the left table. The second one is considered the right table. So when you look at examples, that's all I'm talking about. Whatever one I write first in our from clause, meaning if I wrote students first, T students join to student courses, the left table is the students table, and the right table is the student courses table. Got it? Just that simple. It's almost too simple that it's hard, right? So in this case, an inner join is anything that matches based upon the primary and foreign keys between those two tables. A full join says bring back everything from both tables. I'm going to tell you, I'm not quite sure I've ever written one of those in my whole career, but I'm sure some people have, but I have not. A left join and a right join says bring back all the rows in the left table. Okay, so maybe in my example, the student table, and only those that match in the right table. And then a right join is vice versa. I have written several left joins and right joins throughout my career. But when I say several, not many. But every once in a while, you need an outer join. It is required based upon what the application is doing. And we'll make sure you get a nice example when we get into other assignments later on in the course. Does that make sense? So once again, we're primarily been doing inner joins, and that's what we're going to focus on today. All right, let's get into explicit joins. First, to understand explicit joins, let's go back to our implicit joins, which you've been doing so far. Obviously, we select all our columns, and then we go ahead and identify the tables in which we want to join. What we have done so far is we went ahead in our where clause, and we basically set up the predicates of how we're going to join them together based upon primary key and foreign key of those two particular tables. Obviously, also what we can do in our where clause is go ahead and add any more filtering we may want to add to them. Does that make sense? All right. So you've been doing it like this all along. So hopefully this is not new to you. You understand how it works. To make these things match and make it a true inner join, it is absolutely 1000% important that that equal sign between the primary key and the foreign key are there. All right? All right. Well, how do we write this explicitly? So explicitly is a little bit different. We actually say what we're going to do in the from clause. We tell it explicitly what we're doing, not implicitly. Explicitly, we say we're going to join instructors to T courses. We're going to do an inner join. Once again, you don't have to have the word inner in there. Join and inner join are the exact same thing now in SQL. So T instructors to T courses. All right. And we're going to do that on the primary key and the foreign key accordingly. As you see, we moved all that up. Let's go back and look. Everything that was in the where clause is now in the on clause of the from statement of the select statement. Does that make sense? All right. Obviously, our other filtering stays in the where clause. Does that make sense? Okay. Very simple. So you explicitly say, I'm going to join T instructors to T courses, inner join on this. Hopefully that makes sense. I've had a lot of students come up to me saying, this reads a lot nicer. This makes more sense to me. Okay. So both ways. I mean, once again, I'm not here to argue which one's better, which one's easier to write. I'm just trying to show you both of them that you're going to experience in industry. So how do we do this with multiple tables? It gets a little bit trickier when it comes to an explicit join with multiple tables. And when I say trickier, it just gets a little different. I'm going to show you an approach I like. It actually has worked for me over the years, and hopefully it makes it very easy for you. Obviously, implicitly, this is how you actually joined, in this case, 4 tables together. You would basically list the tables down, and down here you create the predicates of those joins. Here's where the issue comes into place. If you join these tables together, but if you happen to forget or omit one of these predicates, you will now have you'll actually create a Cartesian product, basically a full join, meaning more rows will come back. That can cause issues. Though you might recognize that in your testing that you got a lot more rows than you intended, like I said, later on when we get into aggregates, that might not be the case. Because what might actually happen in aggregates is we're going to total things up. All of a sudden, the totals will be wrong. And you might not recognize that. And then all of a sudden, you hand this to your boss, who's now making decisions on that information, and that could create issues. You would hate for a boss to make decisions on wrong information that you gave him. We don't want that. So that's where the risk of implicit comes into play here. You must make sure that every predicate is there that joins these tables together. If you omit one by accident, that could cause issues. All right, to do this on an explicitly, it's a little bit different. Basically, how you do this now is how I look at it is I want to do things one step at a time. So explicitly, basically what we do is we join 2 tables together, all right, like in this case here, students and students courses, and basically that's going to give us a result set as we're joining. Then what we're going to do is join that result set to the next table, in this case is courses. That will then create a result set. And then based upon that, we're going to join our last table, which would be states. I got to show you the example first, and we'll kind of come back to this one more time and kind of look at it. What do I mean by this? Well, you join 2 tables together, create a result set, add another one. Look what I'm doing here. So from T students join, once again, in this case, I went ahead and omitted the inner piece here, same thing. So it's T students join T student courses. Got it? On the primary key and foreign key of those tables. That's when I create a result set. Immediately, it's going to then join the next table called T courses. So this is going to join to this based upon the primary key and foreign key. That will recreate a result set and thus then join the states together. Does that make sense? So these 2 first, then the results of this is joined to this. The results of this is joined to this. So going back to my illustration here, these 2 first, the results, that's that green line, is going to be joined to this. The results of that big green line, it's going to be joined to states. I feel if you just kind of keep that in mind as you're writing these, one step at a time, so no matter if you're joining 3 tables, 4 tables, 5 tables together, it always works if you do that. Obviously, I have spaces between them for readability's sake, or at least understanding's sake, I should say. You don't need those spaces there. Some people put brackets around the different joins to basically understand, and that's fine too. I kind of like writing it like this. This makes real good sense to me, and to me, it actually reads really well. You try it, okay? That's the next part here. You try to see what you can come up with. I have given you under resources for this particular week, some under content for the resources, some information on how to write explicit joins. Take a look at that. There's tons of information out there in regards to this. If you go to W3 Schools, Tutorials Point, and so on, most everything that you'll look at there will be explicit joins and should be able to answer most of your questions. All right? But I think if you would take the approach of what I just taught you here, it would actually be pretty simple. Good luck.